Butternut squash provides 457% of daily vitamin A per cup cooked, plus 52% vitamin C and 13% vitamin E. The deep orange flesh indicates high carotenoid content, and the fiber content of 7 grams per cup is substantial. As a winter squash, butternut is nutritionally impressive and seasonally appropriate during fall and winter months. But let's address the elephant in the room. Butternut squash is difficult to prepare. The hard exterior requires a sharp knife and significant physical strength to cut through safely. Many home cooks avoid butternut squash entirely because of preparation difficulty, despite its nutritional benefits. The suggestion to buy pre-cut squash is practical and acknowledges this challenge. Yes, pre-cut squash is more expensive, often twice the cost per pound. But if the choice is between expensive pre-cut squash that you'll actually eat and whole squash that sits in your kitchen until it rots, the pre-cut option makes sense. Food waste is also a cost. The recommendation to roast cubed squash with olive oil and rosemary is classic and delicious. The natural sweetness requires minimal seasoning, which is appealing. However, even cubing requires cutting through that hard exterior. For people with limited hand strength, arthritis, or inadequate knives, this may not be feasible. Pureed butternut squash soup with sage is described as classic. This is true and delicious, but making soup requires time, equipment, blender or immersion blender, and multiple ingredients. It's not a quick weeknight option for most people. The instruction not to discard the seeds because they contain zinc and healthy fats when roasted is good from a food waste perspective. However, roasting squash seeds requires cleaning them, which is messy, drying them, and roasting at a different temperature than the squash flesh. Most people don't bother. The pairing with warming spices like cinnamon and nutmeg is mentioned as complementary. This works well and enhances the natural sweetness. However, adding cinnamon to a savory squash side dish may seem strange to people unfamiliar with this flavor combination. The claim that butternut squash stores well, keep cool, dark place for weeks is accurate. Whole winter squash can last months under proper conditions. This makes it valuable for food security, particularly in regions with limited fresh produce in winter. However, cool, dark place isn't specific. What temperature? How much air circulation? These details matter. The suggestion to use pureed butternut squash to add moisture and nutrition to baked goods is creative. Squash can indeed replace some of the fat and sugar in recipes like muffins or quick breads. But this requires baking knowledge and experimentation. Simply substituting squash without adjusting other ingredients often leads to disappointing results. The combination of vitamins A and C is highlighted for immune support, with the note that this is valuable during cold/flu season when squash is in season. This seasonal alignment is mentioned as beneficial, which is an interesting way to think about eating seasonally. The foods available naturally provide what we need for that time of year. The creamy texture when pureed is noted as making satisfying soups without cream. This is true and valuable for people avoiding dairy or trying to reduce calories. Pureed butternut squash creates a rich, velvety texture naturally. What strikes me is the assumption that everyone has the tools, skills, and physical ability to prepare whole butternut squash. A sharp knife, cutting board, strong hands, and confidence in safely cutting hard vegetables are all prerequisites. For many people, these barriers are real and significant. The emphasis on pairing with olive oil or other healthy fats for vitamin A absorption is repeated throughout these articles. This is solid nutritional science, but the repetition reveals how complex optimal nutrition actually is. You can't just eat vegetables. You need to eat them with fat for fat-soluble vitamins, with vitamin C for iron absorption, and avoid overcooking for vitamin C retention. It's exhausting.